Welcome back to Calvin's Gallery. Uh, Here we are starting off with a look at the current town. As you can see, it's much more lively than it was um, an update ago. We've got doors. All of these buildings are explorable now. We've got a couple new NPCs floating around. And today I'm going to be focusing on gardening. So this is going to be a new mechanic. This will be in the alpha build very shortly. And I'm going to show you how I put it together. So first you want your, these are little gardening plots. And I'm going to just walk through the different code and show you how I made it so you can make your own. So first I want to do a quick show you how it works, and then we'll get started. And then once we're done doing that, I'm going to make a this is a little compost bin, and we'll be making that from scratch during the video. So first I click on this. I don't have any fertilizer, so let's get some fertilizer. See, this guy just kind of walks around. We got some seeds and fertilizer and supplies from that. So then we're going to go back here. Do I want to plant some seeds? Yes. I'm going to plant some normal seeds. Then I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to plant some magic seeds. I'm going to go to this one. Treasure seeds. And lastly, crystal seeds. So as you can see, each one, we get a unique plant out of it. And you click on them, it says they need to grow. So each of these actually does take a while to grow. The longer you wait, the bigger they get, up to there's not a maximum amount of rewards, but there's a maximum level of reward you can harvest from them. This one, you get herbs from it, so you can use that to make teas, you can use that to make foods, healing items, things like that. These ones will give you vital or essence fruits, which restore a small amount of magic and health, and also increase either of those depending on which fruit it is. Vital increases health, essence increases magic. Then this is a treasure plant. You can see it's got kind of a pinata look to it. That gives you random treasures. The bigger it gets, the better the rewards and the more of them. And then here we have the crystals. So that will drop crystal dusts. And those let you increase your core attributes, your attack, defense, magic attack, so on. So each of these takes a while to grow. These three take twice as long as the base ones to grow. And these seeds will be able to be found throughout the world. There'll be different mini games to acquire them. And then in the end, I think this compost bin will have a chance to drop some. Right now it doesn't do anything, you just hit yes, and it just kind of ends there. So this is the gardening mechanic. That's what you're going to be looking at, and I'll show you how I put it together. So first, we start with this kind of rocky look that just designates that there's a spot you can plant there. And in the end, there will be 10 spots behind your house that you can plant things. I plan on putting a few out in the wilds as well. So you can stumble across them, plant things, go back later and get them. So first, each of these has 5 different tabs. The starting tab, and then one for each plant. In a previous video, I showed you how I made the sprites for these. You can see all of those sprites here. And this is where they got used. This is a default texture that comes with RPG Maker. I kind of liked this dirt texture. I might change it, but I'm kind of happy with that one. So, first step is, does the party have fertilizer? You don't have to require fertilizer. It's a single check. Just because of the rewards you get out of these, I figured a little extra barrier would help balance that out. So first it checks if you have fertilizer, and if you don't, as you saw, it just says you need fertilizer to plant seeds here. Fertilizer can be bought in the shop. It's also going to be pretty easy to find, and like I said, that compost bin will let us make fertilizer later. Then you'll have that the choice will pop up. So do you want to use fertilizer? Yes or no? No will just end the conversation. And yes proceeds you on to the next choice. What kind of seeds? This is when we start actually getting into the nitty-gritty of it. So once you pick a seed type, at first you have to check to make sure the character has those seeds. And if not, they say, I need seeds to do that. Then, if they do, you remove fertilizer, remove seed, and this plant steps, that's going to be key. So each plant will have to have a unique variable called plant steps. So see, this one is plant 1 steps, 10 plants, 10 steps, and then any other plants will also have to have a unique step counter. That is how I'm simulating time. Then it'll do control switch A. So 4 self switches, 4 types of plants. If there was a different, if I wanted to do more plants, I would recommend using a variable. So maybe have something called plant type, and then have it count up to whatever number of plants you have. And then, so if I used seeds, say that would set the variable to 1. If I used magic seeds, it would set it to 2. And then depending on what that variable was equal to, it would switch this. That would double the amount of variables you'd need per plant. So that shouldn't be much of an issue, but if you're running a very, very heavy game, that could become difficult. Or if you're bad at organizing things, it could become kind of messy. I just prefer the self switches. It's a little cleaner, and I only have 4 plants right now, so this fits my needs just fine. So this plant steps tracks the current number of steps the character has made. So we'll call that basically gives us a baseline. Essentially, that gives us a new 0 for the plant to start counting from. Then, here I've got a comment reminding plant steps equals steps. Next, we have the steps variable, which is, it's sort of a miscellaneous variable. I use it exclusively for the step count. So anytime I have something called steps, I have a dedicated variable just for that. So then what it'll do is any variable, this one uses misc variables, because that plant steps is the only one that needs to stay fixed. And that way we can just reference back to it. So, steps equals steps, so that'll update how far we've traveled since we've started this plant. misc2 becomes equal to plant steps, so that way we can modify the misc variable without affecting our original count. And we add 1,000 to it. So 1,000 steps is how long it takes these plants to grow. You can change that to whatever you want. That's going to be your growth rate. I had it at 500. I found 500 was very, very quick. You could get that just by running around town, not even really trying to waste time, just talking to the different people, collecting different items, and you'd come back and it would have grown very quickly. So I set it to 1,000. And that'll help encourage people to go off and adventure and then come back and harvest. And that'll be 1,000 steps per tier of rewards, as you'll see in a second. So, next is the first check within our harvest steps. And this basically is steps, so how many steps you've traveled, equal to plant steps plus 1,000, basically. So have you reached that first level of plant growth enough to harvest something? If you have not, you get this. The plant still needs to grow some, which we saw in the little demonstration. Then, this is actually an old comment you can see right there. So per 1,000 steps. So then, if you've traveled enough times, first step is to prepare the harvest loop, is what I call it. And this is a loop that's going to run until you've used up all of the growth on that plant. MISC 3 is then set equal to steps, and you subtract your plant 1 steps. So now you have the difference between plant 1 and the current number of steps. And you know that difference is at least 1,000. So if that difference is greater than or equal to 3,000, you have a large plant. 2,000 gives you a medium plant, and 1,000 gives you the smallest plant. That brings you to our next question. Do you want to harvest, or do you want to wait? If you let them grow, it ends there, you walk away, you can come back later. If you harvest them now, that's when you become the proper harvest loop. So, and you can see I'm still kind of tweaking these. So, the actual harvest loop is again going to do that check, but it's going to do that every round, since this is initiating that harvest loop, and it has to have at least 1,000. So, step 1, subtract 1,000, run the basic harvest event, then repeat. And it just does that until MISC 3 is less than 1,000. So I'm going to apply because I did make a couple changes, and we're going to go look at that common event, that basic harvest. This one is pretty straightforward. It's just a dice roll, basically. I have it between 1 and 50. You can do it 1 and 10, 1 and 100, whatever variable works for you and how your game is balanced. I have it between 1 and 50. Then I have it further modified based on how much luck your character has. I'm using luck in a variety of places within the game to kind of encourage the use of that attribute. So if you have 50 luck, you get +1, which works out to about a 2% increase in the rare drops. Then if you have 100, that means you get a +1 and another +1 or +2. So now you're looking at 4 to 6%. Then if you have 150 luck, you're looking at 6. So 6 would be the minimum. 6, 8, looking at about 12%, I believe. Yeah, about a 12% increase to get those high-end rewards. Then I have the checks going in reverse order, highest to lowest. That way you get the big reward, and it doesn't accidentally go through and give you multiple. In this case, the big reward is jasmine. Jasmine's a very powerful herb used in this game. It's used in the strongest foods and the strongest teas. That 50 requirement means you have a 2% to harvest with just base luck. If you have 150 luck, that 2% becomes 14%. Still fairly low, but jasmine is very, very powerful. Then we have lava root, which is used in more teas. It's pretty powerful. It's used a lot in status removal teas. It's very, very useful. Next, we have the Labrador tea leaves. These are not quite as powerful. They're still very versatile, though. And those are used in the second tier teas. They're very, very useful for restoring magic. Strong herbs. These are used for curing a variety of status effects. Very versatile. And then lastly, we have herbs that can be used to make those base teas. So, not a huge variety of rewards from this, but all of these are very core items that are going to be very, very useful to have on hand. And this also means that even with max luck, you'll have a good chance of getting these starting ones, which are used in the base recipe for a lot of these teas. So, next step is we're going to look at the magic plant. So, we have seeds. Next, we're at magic seeds. So this one, if you check, it's first going to check for magic seeds. If it does, same steps here. Remove fertilizer, remove magic seeds, and then set the plant steps. self-switch B turns on, moving us to tab 3. These first steps are again the same, so steps become steps, misc steps becomes plant steps. Then this is our first difference. So like I said, these plants grow half as fast, so they take twice as many steps. So instead of 1,000, it's 2,000. Then we do that first check. Is our current steps greater than misc 2? Is it greater than that modified plant 1 steps? If not, your plant still needs to grow. And see, again, here's that comment. I think all of these comments are going to need to be updated. So, comments are really useful, especially when something like this, not super complicated, but it's just good to keep your process outlined and easy to read. So, if your plant has grown enough, we'll prepare the harvest loop. misc 3 equals steps, misc 3 minus plant steps. That gets you that difference once again. And this one is increments of 2,000 instead of 1,000. So 2,000 steps, you can just harvest it. This will get you the smallest fruits. 4,000 will get you a medium fruit. 6,000 gets you a large fruit. And more than 6,000 gives you a good chance of getting multiple fruits. So you can harvest or let them grow just as before. And if you do the harvest, this enters a new rewards loop. This one's the magic harvest rewards loop. Okay, so this one does the same thing, except for it actually modifies the steps within the event. It does not, it doesn't do it outside of the event. So this one's a little bit different, and we'll go take a look at that one in just a second. And so once that event, or once it's used up all of the growth, turns self-switch off, switching us back to tab 1, and ends the loop. So, apply, because I did change that comment, and we'll look at the next common event. So this one is Magic Harvest. This one first is a 1-0. 0 gets you a health fruit, or a vital fruit, and 1 gets you that essence fruit. And you can see these ones were not updated yet. There. So, there you go. Now, these two are identical, the vital and the essence fruit, so we'll just walk through the vital fruit. First, it'll check if that misc 3 is greater than or equal to 6,000. If it is, you get a huge vital fruit, and it removes 6,000 from the steps. If it's 4,000, so between 4,000 and 6,000, you get a standard vital fruit. And lastly, if it's between 2,000 and 4,000, you get a small vital fruit. So that means 8,000 steps, you'd get a large and a small. 10,000 steps would get you a large and a medium. 12,000 steps would get you 2 huge, and so on. So every 6,000 steps will get you an additional large fruit. And those large fruits could be of vital, or they could be an essence, since the loop is outside of this event. So I'm going to apply to save those changes, and we're going to go to the next one. And you probably noticed these two are based on common events. These next two don't have those common events. They're actually entirely contained within the plant. So, back to the start. I want to plant treasures. Check. Whoops. Looks like I forgot a check. This is why it's always good to proofread. If party has treasure seeds. I need treasure seeds to do that. And then same thing here, conditional branch if the party has crystal seeds. I need crystal seeds to do that. There. So now those checks are in place. Treasure seeds. Make sure you have treasure seeds. Tells you need them if you don't have them. Sets plant steps to steps. And turns on self switch C. That brings us to tab 4. So this is this kind of pinata-ish looking plant. Same steps at the top. Steps equals steps. MISC2 equals plant steps 1. Increment that by 2,000. Getting us the amount of growth required for that initial harvest. Next, we prepare the harvest loop if it's grown enough. And same thing again, we get that difference between current steps and the original steps. 6,000 is the largest, 4,000 medium, 2,000 small. Do you want to harvest or let it grow? Then if you harvest, it initializes this loop. So first check with the loop, this is what just keeps the loop going. Is there more than 2,000 steps within that difference? Then 6,000 will get you 1 strong loot. And these are actually common events, but these are loot events. These are used a lot in treasure chests, boss fights. These are not made specifically for this plant. And there's nothing going on in there. It's just a random number. Based on that number, you get different rewards. Very simple. I'll show you that one in a minute. Then we have the next 2. So 6,000 gets you strong loot, 4,000 moderate loot, and 2,000 weak loot. And then that keeps repeating. So same thing as with the fruits. For every 6,000 steps, you get 1 roll at the strong loot. So that means that if you have more than 6,000, you're guaranteed that strong loot, which makes these a very, very powerful seed to have. Very, very useful. That strong loot is going to contain things like class accessories, equipment, very powerful single-use items. Versus the loot has a lot more, the weak loot has much more consumables. It'll have stone, wood, things like that. Think of this is the basic chest that you're going to see everywhere. These are going to be those boss chests, and this will be somewhere in between, sort of a hard puzzle chest, or maybe mini boss rewards. Then, once you've used up all the steps, breaks the loop, and frees you from that cycle. Anytime you're making loops, make sure you have break loop. If you don't have a break loop, your game's going to get stuck, and that causes a lot of problems. So, apply, because I made some small changes, and we'll go back to the beginning. Last time, promise. So, crystal seeds. So, first check, do you have crystal seeds? If yes, remove fertilizer, remove seeds, set plant 1 steps. That'll take us to page 5, which is that D self switch. Same beginning steps. Steps equals steps. MISC2 equals plant 1 steps. MISC2 increment by 2,000. That's the growth rate of these. If steps is greater than MISC2, so you've moved more than 2,000 steps, you can initiate the harvest. Prepares the harvest loop. Again, get the difference between steps and plant steps. 6,000 is large, 4,000 medium, 2,000 small. And do you want to harvest? If yes, we harvest. So this one is calling a random dust event. This is something that'll be found throughout the world as well, using there'll be little crystal spawns. So let me show you that real quick. So here's weak loot, and the moderate and strong will look the same. They'll just have different rewards in them. So weak loot is a random 100. It's based on your level. It pulls in your luck. There's a lot of just a few different variables in there, actually. And then the second check here. So basically, if you roll very, very well, then initially you'll get some of this dust. Those higher loots will have a higher chance of the dust, and they'll have other rewards. Then it works its way down. If it's greater than 90, you get a potion. Between 85 and 90, you get wood. Then you got tea, stone, dispel herbs, shovel, stimulants, rope, all the way down the line. Huge number of possible rewards. And it has a chance to loop. The higher this rolls, so if it's less than 1, ran loot 2. Yeah, okay, so this determines how many times it will loop. Okay. So at the bottom here, if ran loot 2 is less than 1, it ends. If it's more than 1, you subtract 25 from that sort of rewards points and do the loop again. Meaning that higher level, higher luck, you'll get a lot more rewards. So every 25 levels, you'll get 1 extra reward guaranteed. Every 25 luck, you'll get 1 extra reward guaranteed. Lots of potential there. Lots and lots of rewards at high levels, but they're all pretty small rewards. These you're going to consume pretty heavily. These you're going to consume pretty heavily. A lot of these are consumable items. So these are things that you're going to need a lot of. Then lastly, I want to show you that random dust. Here we go. So the random dust, random 1 to 10, pretty simple. So iridescent dust, this is the best of the dust. It's all colorful, gives you +1 to each stat, whereas the other dusts only give you +1 to a chosen stat. If you're very lucky, you have a chance for a second amount of dust. So that does mean that if you get, so if you're between, so if you get 7, 8, or 9, it'll run again. Yeah. So that's the rewards there. You can find these in a few places. The first place you'll encounter it is going to be the forest. I believe it's going to be in the deep forest. It's this crystal spot here. So you'll harvest it, and you'll just get some random dust. And these are going to pop up probably 1 per region. So the wild dust is not going to be super common, making these crystal plants very, very useful. But those seeds are also not going to be very common. And that is gardening in Calvin's Gallery. Pretty straightforward. You can make it more complicated. You could, say, require a shovel. You could require different types of fertilizer. You can make fertilizer increase how much it's grown. So to do that, all you would have to do is put something in here like used extra fertilizer that would add to this MISC 3. So you do something like, I'll throw in a conditional branch. I'll just make up a temporary switch. Let's do, we'll just put it here. Used extra fertilizer. Okay. So if that is on, then you'll add, just copy this, add 250 or something like that. So that way you can just make it grow a little bit faster. Then you could have stronger fertilizers to make it grow even faster, or you could have, like if you got fishing like this game does, they could use a fish to make it grow faster. Lots of options there. I'm going to keep it simple because I want to encourage these to be left and you to come back to them. And then all of these are just kind of duplicates. So, and I'll show you what I have to do to make a duplicate. This does get a little tedious, but so making duplicates, you have to take and change every instance of plant 1 and change it to plant 2. So I'm going to call this plant 2. And so you'll just go through and find your plant steps and change it from plant 1 to plant 2. Nothing else needs to change. This way that each plant is tracking its own steps. Because if you don't change this, one plant will likely be running the steps for all of them, and that can cause issues with early harvests, late harvests. They could end up not tracking at all. They could be checking the wrong things. It's just overall better to make sure that you have that set properly. And you could probably make this run on some kind of variable. I just prefer the hard-coded setup like this. There's a lot less that can go wrong. And there's really not a ton to change. You just got to make sure that you update it all. And you shouldn't need to change anything in the common events. I'm sure you could if you wanted to. You could make those call to plant steps. I personally suggest avoiding that just for the sake of management. So, looks like that's it for that one. So, plant 2 is now done. So these two are now entirely distinct and managed separately. Next is going to be this compost. Right now I just have a basic framework. It's just got a little box there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some choices of what you can throw in here. We'll start with plants. So text, what plant do you want to throw in? Okay, and I think what I'll do is I'll have an event. So after you add each thing, it'll run an event called gain fertilizer or something along those lines that will, depending on what you've thrown in, you'll have a chance to gain fertilizer. If you don't, it'll keep that value and make it easier to get fertilizer in the future. So, next we'll show choices. What plants do you want to throw in? We'll start with dandelion, sprouts, wild sprouts, mandrake leaves, and never mind. Then set that cancel choice to 5. So now you can throw these in. Then same thing as before. Check for item. Dandelion. Show text. I need dandelions first. And add your character's face, just so they're talking to themselves, reminding them that they don't know how to garden. If party has dandelions, change item, dandelion decrease by 1. I'll do, let's see, control variable. We'll make a new variable. I'll want to save these. Yeah, we'll just start a variable here. Call it compost count. Apply, okay. Compost count, and we'll add 1. Dandelions will be equal to 1. Okay, apply. Let's go to common events, and we will make this compost. Conditional branch. If variable compost count is, let's do, because this probably won't get very high, it'll reset regularly. Let's do greater or equal to 10. Show text. You find some fresh compost. Okay. Change items, increase, and go down to fertilizer. Gain 1 fertilizer. Then we'll want to set that compost count. Oops. Control variable. Compost count set to 0. So simple as that. Once it reaches 10, you get a reward. Else, we'll put in fertilizer. Okay. And I'm also going to add in some switches. So control switch. Or not control switch, conditional branch. Here we go. If switch. And let's go. I just don't want to use anything that I might duplicate. So I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to keep this blank, so all of my MISC switches can go here. And these are switches that are great for like things happening on one floor, not broad or global ones. So I just want to keep those separate just in case. World loot. I could probably, yeah, let's do this. Let's do herbs added. And we'll do we had herbs, magic, so we'll do fruit added. I don't think we'll do crystals, so you can't get crystal seeds out of here, just because that could get very, very powerful. But let's do items added. Okay. So this one's items added. If items is added, then we'll do a random set between 1 and 10. If variable random is greater than 5, change items, and we'll have this give treasure seeds. Show text. Find treasure seeds. I want to change this. I want to make this 9. So it's very rare to get those. If item added is on, you'll get 1 thing of seeds. And even if you don't get the seeds, we will turn items added off. Control switch. Items added, turn that off. Then I'll do the same thing for fruit added. And we'll turn off fruit added. Okay, this will be gain 1 magic seeds. Find some magic seeds. So each time you get compost, if you've used these items to make compost, you'll get a chance to get some more seeds out of it. And then lastly, we will have herbs added. Oops. And turn that off. And we'll make normal seeds a little bit easier. We'll make these 4. So you'll have about a 50-60% chance to get some normal seeds. So that's a pretty simple run there. And what we'll do is, so I'm going to copy this and put it here. Except for instead of these, I'll have the different herb types. Herb, Labrador leaves, lava roots, and jasmine. So, and we'll just do the first one. So this one will be herbs. If party has herbs, lose 1 herb. And compost count will make this increase it by 2. And it will control switch, herbs added, turn that on. So just adding 1 batch of herbs will activate that. Then fish won't affect it. Items, okay, so I actually need to add, change this to add fruit, add items, and no. Choice 6 becomes the denial. There we go. Then we're going to copy this, put it in here. Types of fish, guppies, walleye, pike, perch, koi, and never mind. So this one will be pretty similar. If party has guppy, change items, guppy -1, compost count +2. I need guppies first. I might expand on this one because there's about 10 types, I think 12 types of fish. So I might split this into small fish and large fish. That way you can have all of the options there. And then there's a couple unique fish that I probably won't have an option to throw in here. The largest ones, because you can get other rewards. It's much more valuable to turn in the fish. But if you don't care for those rewards, using them as fertilizer is not a bad option. And I need to change this. Need herbs first. There. Then down here, add fruit. So, same thing, except we're going to go add vital fruit, add essence fruit, clear these, do never mind. Okay. If vital fruit, we'll have another choice. Huge vital fruit, and a small vital fruit, and of course, never mind. Choice 4. Okay. Add text. What size of vital fruit do you want to use? Okay. Then if party has huge vital fruit, item remove, huge vital fruit, compost count will make this go straight up to 10. And this will be fruit added. I need a huge vital fruit first. Then this will be the same for each of these. It'll just be small. I'm actually going to copy this and paste it in the essence fruit. Use okay, there we go. Huge essence fruit, remove one huge essence fruit, compost and fruit added. So that doing that means you'll have a chance to get more of those fruit seeds out of it. Then lastly, we have the items. So what items do you want to throw in? And we'll do natural items and monster loot. And never mind. Okay. Natural items. What do you want to add to the composter? And so let's show choices. Let's add wood. Let's actually take a look at items. So change items. This one would remove wood. Let's look at other things that you could throw in there. Maybe pitch, and the venom pitch, probably. Desert stinger, tough plates, those would be monster items. Maybe sand. Chilling slime would be a monster item. Serpent, bat wings, meats, monster items. Wood. Different ores and alloys, perhaps. Maybe I'll do wood, mine dust. Yeah, actually that doesn't sound like a bad idea. So I'll do wood, mine dust, sun sand, yeah, I'll just do those for now. If I want to add more, it's pretty easy to add more. So let's find wood, decrease. Then we'll have compost count increase. I'll have wood increases by 3. But wood is common enough. I'm not going to make it add that. I'm not going to make it check that switch. Next, sun, sand, that's another one, and mine dust. And we'll put a never mind here. Never mind 4. Additional branch. If item wood. I need wood to do that. And face. There we go. And I think what I'll actually do, control variable, random 1, random, I'll give it a chance to increment, or swap that switch. Conditional branch, variable 1 is 10, control switch, items added, turn it on. There. So, if you use wood, there's a chance that it'll turn on that items. Then we'll do the same thing here, except this one will be sun sand. Sun sand. Compost count 3. And we'll make this greater than or equal to 8. Since sun sand's a little bit harder to get. And then lastly, the mine dust. And this one, I think, will actually decrease the fertilizer count, or the compost count. I will have it subtract 2, but it will have a very high chance of triggering that items on. Since mine dust is a very, very useful item, it cures a lot of status effects. And then the last step is the thing. Let's see, so after you've added stuff, after each addition, I need to have it run a common event, which will be the compost event. So, after each event, it'll do this. And so right now the compost event is pretty basic. It's not chance-based. It's completely set. Make sure that save. I think I'm going to improve this though. So I'm going to boost this up to 20. And instead, I'm going to have control variable. And I'm going to use random 9. It's not used very often. I want to just make sure it's not going to conflict with anything. Set to variable. And this one we will set it equal to compost count. Okay. Then control variable random 9 add 1 to 10. And we will switch this from compost count to random 9. So that way each time you harvest, we'll make this 12. So each time you add compost, there will be a chance of getting fertilizer out of there. Better stuff makes better fertilizer. So this one you'll need let's actually, so instead of 20, let's make it 15. And we'll put this back at 1 to 10. So 5. So 5 compost points is the minimum to get a harvest. 15 would be the maximum required. And let's add a luck thing in here too. Maybe let's go back to this. So here, this is where I'm calling on the actor's luck. We'll bring this over here. If the actor's luck, so this is actor 1. In this game, this will always be Calvin. So it's game actors.actor 1.luck. And we'll do if you have 75 luck. So that's early, mid game, and it'll add a random. We'll do a 1 to 3. So that will significantly boost your chance of getting stuff out of the fertilizer. Then I think I'll do the same thing for each of these as well. So then this one, if your luck is 75 or over, it's using random 1. We'll have it add 1 to 2. Now I'm just gonna have it added 1. Just because those are very, very powerful rewards. So you'll start getting more once you get to a certain point. This one I will make it a little bit random though. We're gonna get 1 to 2. So it'll be really easy to get seeds out of it once you get to that point, and a little bit easier to get the magic seeds and the treasure seeds. But you still won't be guaranteed on any of that. So that is how to set up gardening. We went through a lot in here. We went through how I made the basic gardening. We went through the different reward loops. And we did composting. We also did how to get seeds out of that composting. So lots of really useful tools. This step setup is useful for a ton of different things. You can use this in puzzles, you can use this for treasure rewards, you can use this to reset things, so you have to be gone, X number of steps to reset an area. You can have timers set up with this, so you have 500 steps to get from point A to point B, or 10 steps, or things like that. If you want some kind of turn-based movement, you could do it this way. You get 2 steps, and then it will do a check, and then so lots and lots of options and potential with that one. So I hope you found this helpful. I'm going to call it good there. I hope to see you again in the next video.